A lot of local and foreign scholars called for the establishment of peace and reconciliation in Gardaya, an initiative to extinguish the fire of strife and to reject the division among people. And the repercussions of Him's meeting with the government was patent on the reactions of many leaders in the opposition movement. Hello ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Dzair News Live and welcome to this English news edition. First in our news file, lots of local and foreign scholars called for the establishment of peace and reconciliation in Gardaya, an initiative to extinguish the fire of strife and to reject the division among people. This call launched by elders and religious scholars along with official warns that any plot may jeopardize the national unity. Usama Snusi reports.
Initiatives launched by imams and scholars from inside and outside Algeria with different slogans, and the goal is to calm the situation and put out the fire of sedition in Gardaya. The initiative settled in consensus that what is happening in the Mizab Valley is only conspiracy against Algeria to undermine the stability and unity of its people. Lebanese Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah warned the Algerians of attempts to drag the country into sectarian strife. Same referrals were launched by journalist Abdelbari Atwan, who conferred possession of evidences that prove targeting Algeria's territorial integrity through Gardaya. Internally, the national scene saw the quest of good preachers to bury the strife in Gardaya, far from political initiatives where the opposition and pro-government forces turned around, with initiatives from the presidency and the prime ministry. Some scholars called for conciliation between Malikis and Ibadis, while the Sheikh of Qadiriyya school in Algeria and Africa, Hassan Hassani bin Brahim, called for parties to the conflict to sit around a table in Eid al-Iftar in order to heal the rift and unite, because national unity is a red line not to be crossed, whatever the reasons. Muslim Scholars Association also took part in the peace accord, sending delegations of scholars and elders to the capital of Mizab to consult with various representatives in the region in order to end the conflict.
After accusing foreign parties for plotting a conspiracy in Gardaya, the Secretary General of the National Democracy Rally, Ahmed Ouihia, addressed another worrying fact and warned the country of another petrol crisis similar to the one that hit the country in the 80s if the state doesn't take the right measures to counter its negative effects. Mustafa Azzouk.
The ravaging oil crisis that has harshly hit oil exporting countries seems to have made the headlines once again in our country, as the Secretary General of the National Democratic Rally, Ahmed Ouihia, warned the country of another crisis similar to the one that hit the country in the 80s, if it doesn't take the necessary measures to counter its negative effects. Algeria's oil revenues have sharply dropped by 50%. In June 2014, the oil barrel was about $120, whereas in June 2015, the oil barrel dropped to below $60, when the country is in utmost need of revenues to fund several promoting and investment projects. Ahmed Ouihia, known for his pragmatic method, did not miss the crucial opportunity to list the current oil crisis as a challenge that must be overcome as soon as possible, while calling on the relevant authorities to fight the worrying phenomena of smuggling. There is an important matter that I would like to point to. There are some parties within the government really work hard to cover on facts and try to change them, as if nothing is happening on the national scene. To counter the negative effect of depending on oil revenues, Algerian citizens are to work hard and increase their productivity in the future. This is the only way available for them to overcome the current oil crisis.
The repercussions of Him's meeting with the government was patent on the reactions of many leaders in the opposition movement who were quite reserved regarding this step, which seems contradictory with what the president of Peace Movement Party Abdelrazak Mokri said regarding the wishes of many of the party's activists to meet the president of the republic. Karim Fazakri for more details.
The MSP party is on the way of a strong storm. Again, Balance Game does its thing in the house of the late Mahfoud Nahnah, but this time the strike might divide the movement, after its leader Abdurrazzaq Muqri decided to open new channels of dialogue with the government without consulting with his partners in the movement. I think as long as the meeting was done under the name of Hims, it wouldn't pose any problems. This party is free to exercise their party's communications program. It has nothing to do with the MSP movement. The repercussions of Him's meeting with the government was patent on the reactions of many leaders in the opposition movement who were quite reserved regarding this step, which seems contradictory with what Muqri said regarding the wishes of many of the party's activists to meet the President of the Republic. If the current political authority wants to promote for dialogue with all political partners in order to discuss the details of a democratic transition, this dialogue is welcome. But if it is there just to break the opposition and its work by containing some of its members, then this is absolutely unacceptable. Muqri didn't wait long, and through his official Facebook page, he opened fire on some leaders of opposition, defending the option of opening new channels to set dialogues with the authority, and also criticizing indirectly some parties and political figures as to the fact that they had executive position on the top of the government's pyramid. Right now, the priority is to rebuild national consensus with all stakeholders, be it political, social, or economic. Yet, this new uproar in the opposition movement makes room to a state of weakness, which might not be to their interests, and eventually serves the government better.
A terrorist was killed and a weapon and ammunition were recovered by a detachment of the People's National Army in Buria on Sunday, while another terrorist was arrested in Skikda, said the Ministry of National Defense in a communique. During the operation, a Kalashnikov submachine gun, a quantity of ammunition, detonation tools, a mobile phone and other objects were recovered, added the statement. And now moving on to allied atmosphere. Despite the modern sweets available on the market, Algerian women still tend to make traditional sweets for Al-Eid al-Fitr like al-Arayish and al-Charek and others, reviving the past traditions inherited from the generation to another. Hence Minaras.
The countdown has begun for the end of Ramadan. And while Algerians are anticipating Eid al-Fitr, Algerian women flock on supermarkets and shops to purchase the necessary ingredients for their cake making, a must-have on Eid tables. We're bound to make cakes for Eid. This has long been a part of our traditions. Maqrout, Charek, traditional Algerian sweets that cannot be excluded from Eid tables of every year, always present despite the modern pastry invading the pastry world recently. I make Arayish, Maqrout, Charek with its different kinds, Gharibia. These are our traditional Eid sweets that we grew accustomed to. I am out today to look for ingredients, more precisely semolina to make honey Maqrout. My husband and I love it. It's a must on our Eid table. Traditional sweets have become an inseparable part of Eid al-Fitr customs, a tradition inherited through generations in Algeria, becoming nowadays a necessity.
Moving on now to world news, Libyan political leaders reached a new version of a UN-brokered peace deal Saturday, pulling pressure on the Tripoli leadership to sign on and build a unity government in hopes of ending the country's chaos. The Tripoli government took part in earlier stages of talks but refused to participate in the latest discussions in Moroccan city of Skhirat. Members of Libya's internationally recognized parliament and local regional leaders initialed the agreement brokered by UN envoy Bernardo Leon. Negotiators plan to meet again after the Ramadan holiday to work on forming an interim government and finalizing a power-sharing agreement with or without the Tripoli holdouts. Eurozone leaders have told near-bankrupt Greece at an emergency summit that it must restore trust by enacting key reforms before they will open talks on a new financial rescue to keep it in the European currency area. Karim Fazzakri.
Greece is being told it has to restore trust by enacting key reforms before talks can open a new financial rescue package to keep it in the single currency. German Chancellor says conditions are not yet right to begin negotiations. A full EU summit was cancelled, but Eurozone leaders are meeting in Brussels for a make-or-break deal.
I'm here ready for an honest compromise. We owe that to the peoples of Europe, who wants Europe united and not divided. We can reach an agreement tonight if all parties want it.
Greece has offered to meet most creditors' demands in return for a new bailout. Eurozone finance ministers ended hours of talks this weekend without a firm recommendation. Reports say that they want Athens to act first.
We just finished our meeting. We've come a long way, solved a lot of issues, but some big issues still remain. So we're now going to inform the leaders and they can discuss and hopefully decide on those last issues. Thanks.
It's thought the Eurogroup wants Athens to pass laws on VAT, pensions and other reforms before bailout talks can even begin. Several Eurozone countries are adopting a hardline stance, with no agreement on emergency finance. Notably, France and Germany are at odds over Greece's immediate future. France and Italy share concerns about Greek promises, but along with the European Commission and European Central Bank, are wary of a Grexit from the Eurozone that could undermine faith in the entire single currency. Paris is concerned that Germany, or at least its finance minister, is too inflexible, sources said. Wolfgang Schäuble, who predicted earlier that the talks would be exceptionally difficult, has reportedly been at the center of some heated exchanges with Eurozone counterparts over the weekend. Germany is Greece's biggest creditor. Its finance minister said negotiations would be exceptionally difficult. The problem, he said, is that there was a situation at the end of the year that was very hopeful, despite all the skepticism of previous years, and that this was destroyed in an incredible way in the last months. After the first statements, the Eurozone seems to be divided. Some countries want an immediate solution on the Greek crisis. Others say they don't want a deal with Athens at any price. A big debate is set to take place at the summit. Yet Greece needs funds now. Its banks are in danger, and the country's future in the Eurozone remains on a knife edge.
And now back to national news. While many Algerians head to nightly entertainment and cultural spaces in the holy month of Ramadan, others choose to read, for there is no better companion than resulting in a large turnout on libraries for a wide demand on religious and culinary books. Hints Minaras.
While people are more and more refraining from reading, Algerians remarkably flock on libraries during the holy month of Ramadan to read and purchase different kinds of books and literary works, making of this month an occasion to reconcile with books and reconsider their cognitive importance.
Personally, I like to read considerably. An hour a day is sufficient for me. Throughout the year, I devote a special time for reading every day, no matter the circumstances. I read history books, books on our revolutionary figures. I read books for writer Yasmin Khadra. I like this writing style. I encourage everyone to read.
In addition to prayers and what's left of worship, the fasting is keen on doing to get closer to Allah. Religious books in these libraries are top sellers.
Religious books and books of Islamic history are the ones to catch the reader's attention, especially in this month. I dedicate time to read about the history of Islamic civilization. There are several spiritual books as well.
It's worth mentioning that culinary books top the list of most purchased and most demanded books. Some women prefer to make a variety of dishes and sweets, especially with the coming of Eid al-Fitr. I read all the time, either in Ramadan or not. I usually read scientific books, but I like culinary books as well. To encourage children to read, family plays a crucial role in order to achieve this purpose. I read occasionally on holidays. I read to learn English as well. Despite Ramadan this year coinciding with summer season, where cultural activities and soirees are more frequent, books will always remain an individual's best companion.
And finally, to wrap it up, Louis van Gaal has bolstered Manchester United's options by completing the signings of the Germany World Cup winner Bastian Schweinsteiger from Bayern Munich and the Torino defender Matteo Darmian. Usama Snassi.
Manchester United is delighted to announce that Matteo Darmian has completed his transfer from Torino. Matteo joins a 4-year contract with the option to extend for a further year. Darmian, 25, has made 146 appearances and scored 4 league goals for Torino since his debut in 2011. The defender has 13 international caps for Italy and was part of their World Cup squad last summer in Brazil. Bastian Schweinsteiger will have a medical on Sunday before moving from Bayern Munich to Manchester United. The 30-year-old Germany midfielder is believed to have told Bayern he does not want to extend his contract, which runs to 2016. United announced in a club statement on Saturday that they had reached an agreement to sign him. The Old Trafford club hopes to complete the medical to enable Schweinsteiger to be involved in their tour of the United States. These two deals come after a late June transfer of winger Memphis Depay, who has completed his £31 million move to Manchester United from PSV Eindhoven. The 21-year-old joins on a 4-year contract with the option to extend for a further year. Depay completed a medical at United last month, but the move has only just been finalized. He finished the season as top scorer with 22 goals, as PSV secured their first Dutch title since 2008.
The end of our English news edition brought to you live from Dzair News channel. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.